Good morning, everybody. The time has come to find out who the lucky three winners of our dad baskets are. Which basket is up for grabs at this moment? The golf basket. All right. Here it comes. Dads beware. 609-228. You are taking home the golf basket. 609-228. Are you in this house? Are you in this house? We have it? Where is it? Get out of town. Come on up and claim the prize. All right. Well, doesn't matter. You got it, so come on up. There he is. There he is. The winner. The winner. Thank you. Next up, we have, which is it? Which is it? Is it the movie night basket or the grill and the grill and beach? Grill and beach. Here it comes. Grill and beach. 609-397. Where are you? 609-397. Winner, 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 chicken dinner. Woohoo! Come on up. Come on up. 609-397. Actually, would you bring that down for them? Thank you. Thank you. And finally, movie night. Here we come. I'm calling it movie night. 609-126. 609-1.
126.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Here we go. Here we go. Mr. Gould has walked away with the prize. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I'll give this back to you. And I just want to draw your attention, in case it wasn't thoroughly drawn before, one of my favorite events, fundraising events, I call it a fundraiser, of all time is, in fact, the Faith Fellowship Youth Group Talent Show. And it has come to my attention that there is a sign-up sheet in the back for those of you who are brave enough or foolish enough to display your quote-unquote talents before all the world. And I pray that those of you who are sitting on the edge of bravery will have just what it takes to climb off the side of the fence and jump in with both feet in the water, because it is the most epic thing ever. And if you fail to believe me, I will put my money where my mouth is. I will be there in full force. I will have an act for you which you will not soon forget, which is already in the works. I've got somebody to dedicate it to and everything. So if nothing else, come look and see what I can do, okay? Anyways, all right, that's coming up. Please don't forget that. You have to do it soon, because the audition process comes up very, very, very soon. It's coming up the end of this week, I believe. So get over there and sign up, all right? That's it. That's enough of that stuff. So we're talking about YouVersion 2. YouVersion 2. Jesus described an identity that he calls us into that is beyond anything that we had in mind for ourselves before Jesus. And I think this is one of the most relevant issues right now, because people are just so incredibly divided. People are so incredibly anxious right now. People just look at the normal and they say, I don't know where I'm supposed to fit into this. Like, do I even fit in any place? And the answer that Jesus gives is this: you don't. You actually don't fit in any place in all of this mess, we call it. You don't. And he says that the world as he called it, has its own approach to life. It has its own philosophies. It has its own ideas of what will bring peace and what you should pursue. It has its own ideas for purposes, and people have all of these competing purposes in their lives that they're trying to chase down. But Jesus says, I can unlock the who that you were always meant to be. I can do that for you. And there are a lot of people who sign out right about now because they believe, I already know where this is going, right? I know what preachers do in church, right? Don't you? You know, Your parents raised you right. You know right from wrong. You know what preachers do in church. He's going to tell us we're supposed to be good. Isn't that it? Jesus, God, we're supposed to be good. You know, the Big Ten, the 10 Commandments. I'm supposed to do this, not do this. I'm supposed to tell the truth, not lie. I'm supposed to not cheat. I'm not supposed to tell lies about my neighbor, get them in trouble, frame people. I'm not supposed to, covet what other people have and make that what my life's about. We're supposed to be good. Those are all things that we take for granted. Number one, because we live in America, and there's still, even though our culture is walking slowly but surely away from the idea of Christianity, that there's all this residue left over from generations and generations and generations of Christianity's influence. And so we have an idea, like we know what good is. I already know about all that, right? Watched the 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston every single Easter Sunday for the last 47 years. I know right and I know wrong. I know what we're supposed to do. Do you? Some of us are tempted to think that we're actually pretty good. I remember, I'm going to embarrass my wife, I'm sure, but Before I met my wife, I was, still a boy, and I would be interested in girls and wander, hey, I think this one might be interesting, and this one might be interesting. It was like a, dog chasing cars, I didn't know what I would do with one if I ever got one, but sometimes I was interested, so I'd go after them. But somewhere in the middle of that, I got sort of interested in somebody, just a little bit, but at the same time, I was wrestling around with the idea of faith, and I'm like, well, actually, I kind of think I'm supposed to believe something about certain things and right and wrong, and I'm kind of moving in that general direction. And so it turns out this girl's kind of like interested in me, and I was kind of clueless. I'm like, oh well. And so I said, you know what? I'm kind of moving in a certain direction right now. I don't really think maybe this is a good idea, because I'm kind of like going into this Jesus thing, and I don't think this is going to work out. And it was amazing. The reaction was I'll never forget it. It was, well, my parents raised me to know the difference between right and wrong. My parents raised me right, like we're not incompatible. I know the difference between right and wrong. This is really interesting. Now, by some miracle, was like, I don't think we're in sync. So, long history, but we can all probably think of somebody who is pretty good, right? Whether they're involved with God at all. One of my grandfathers, I'll tell you what, he was, by all standards, a pretty good guy. Like, he definitely knew right from wrong. I can't imagine a moment where he would tell a lie. Some of you think, really? I mean, everybody. I'm telling you what, he is one of the very few people I've ever met. I don't think he had it in him. I just don't think he had it. He hated lying. He hated it. He wanted nothing to do with it. Always honest. Didn't want anything to do with God necessarily or the church, but he was never going to tell a lie. Just wasn't in him. Never took a thing that he didn't work for. Never. Never. Never touched a drink in his life. I mean, he just doesn't want anything to do with that stuff. Never infringed on anybody's rights. Never took anything from somebody. This guy was just a straight arrow. He would not mess around with any funny business, he called it. None of that stuff. You look at the 10 Commandments, I'm telling you what, probably 8 out of 10. Not so good on the not throwing God's name into the curse words. He had a little issue with that. And definitely not taking a break on the Sabbath. But 8 out of 10 is pretty good, I think. Yeah. But, don't you need 10 out of 10? I mean, why would he put 10 in there if not for all 10? And how good do you have to be? And Where are you even going with this, preacher? Is this just another preacher telling me to remember right from wrong? No, actually what Jesus is going to do, he's going to mess up your view of what good is, and he's going to invite you to go further than anybody ever thought possible. And he's going to tell you this further, this more is actually the new version of you that you were always meant to step into. It may look like I am raising the bar, I'm just exposing where the bar always was. Listen to what Jesus says. In case you're concerned, just like they were back then, that Jesus was coming along to just fumble everything up and tell us that God is somebody else than who we were always told that he was, and that he's got different ideas. And, this is what Jesus says. He says, first, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. Interesting. So all those things that God told you about right and wrong, he's like, I'm not coming to change direction. Right's still right, wrong's still wrong. I'm not coming to get rid of all of that. And you may think that because what I say may sound different from what you used to hear. It will sound different from what you used to hear because you're going to hear things that you didn't used to hear. But this is not a change in course. God didn't change his mind about stealing all of a sudden. Lying, cheating, framing people for things. He didn't change his mind about messing around on your spouse. Did not change his mind about those things. But I'm here to finish the job that right from wrong started. That's my purpose. See, there was a job that right from wrong began, and I'm here to complete the job. And all this time, you guys just thought that was it, right? It turns out right from wrong was just a foundation. And the reason we're building a foundation is so that we can build a house on top of it. So don't think I came to get rid of the foundation. I have not. He says, I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Anyone who breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So in other words, just because what I say sounds different, don't run around, start lying, cheating, stealing, framing, coveting, using the Lord's name and all your new curse words like that. Don't get the idea that that's where this is going, because this is not where that's going. And don't start doing all that because you think, this is a new thing. Like, no. Back up, track with me, friends. And then here comes the wild part. This is the crazy part. This should shock them, and it should shock you even. He says, this is the why, for I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, I want to decode that for a second. Anybody got any friends who are Pharisees? No, you don't. Okay, you don't. All right? I don't think you do. They got kind of a bad rap over time, so people don't run around calling themselves Pharisees anymore. Okay, that's not a cool group to belong to. But the Pharisees, out of the Jews, there were many subgroups, subcategories, denominations even, if you will. And the Pharisees were the strictest of the strict. They were the fundamentalists of the Jews. And these kids, when these guys were kids and they were coloring in their coloring book, okay, they colored between the lines. They stayed inside the lines. But they were the kids who got out the magnifying glass and looked at the line and said, I'm going to color just inside of the line just to be sure, absolutely 100% sure that I don't break even one tiny little rule from the rule book. and they prided themselves on how clean their track records were. They were exceptional at knowing right from wrong. They were the referees of right and wrong. They walked around almost with a whistle, if you will, blowing that thing every day. Hey, I call foul. I call foul. We got to fix this. This is in the wrong. We got to fix this. Technical foul. And they were so serious about it. They had a code book for the book. They were sure, because questions would come up. You know, you're not supposed to do work on the Sabbath. It's a day of rest. Well, what if my dog has to go out? What then? Is it work to let your dog out, to open the latch and let the door out? Well, we're going to have to address this. You know, what if my cat climbs out the window and gets in a fight with a neighbor cat and then tips something over and a thing happens and, can I go out there and rescue the cat? You know, is that work? Or if I have to go to the outhouse, you know, how many steps off the trail is acceptable versus how many is not? It just went on and on and on. And so they codified this whole thing, and they had legit teachers of the law, because the code thing was so deep, you had to have people interpret it. You had to have professional lawyers to interpret questions of what is okay and what is not, based upon something that was fairly simple to begin with. But people are people. And people don't like to keep the spirit of the law. They like to look for the loopholes in the law. And so they had to have loophole experts. And these were the best of the best. And Jesus says, actually, unless you're gooder than those guys, you'll never even enter the kingdom of heaven. You have to be gooder than them. More righteousness than them. That was appalling. What? What? How could that be? How could anybody even be gooder than them? They check all of the boxes. That's good, right? Jesus is going to tell you, actually, see, there's more to good than you thought. See, this right versus wrong, this is just level 1 kid stuff. Kid stuff. It's the basics. It's the foundation. But just because you do all of those things, even if you did do all those things, which most of them couldn't do, if they were 100% honest, couldn't do, you still wouldn't be good like good is. Yeah. And so what Jesus is about to do through this Sermon on the Mount is he's going to walk you through all of these examples and all these illustrations of real life situations, and he's going to explain to you, if you were getting it right, if you were good, this is what your life would be. This is what good really is. And it's going to blow people away. I thought I knew what good was. No, there's so much more. There's so much more. We're going to go from an idea of good, the old you adopted, which is, I know right from wrong. As long as I do more right things than wrong things, I'm good. We're going to leave that. We're going to exchange that. We're going to build on top, and instead, we're going to use a new system, a new version. It goes like this: like God, not like God. The old you just wanted to know, is it against a rule? You know, am I going to get away with doing the thing that I want to do? That's all I want to know. Can I get away with it? And that's kid stuff, says Jesus. We're going to go past that. We're going to go past that. See, that was the foundation, but I'm going to give you the blueprint to build the rest of the house, a house you didn't even know we were going to build. YouVersion 2 isn't going to identify by checking boxes of right and wrong anymore. YouVersion 2 is going to be built on this. Is this what Dad purposed me to be? Is this what Dad would be like in this situation? Is this the kind of person that Dad would support? Is this a reflection of my father? Is this what Dad is like? That's so far above and more than we were taught as little kids in America. And what's going to happen? Well, there are a few things. As we look through week to week, Jesus' version, his snapshot of what good is, and you stick with me, you're going to come to some conclusions. The first is this. My version of good, next to what God is talking about, is actually pretty sickly and pathetic. Like, I thought, that's pretty good. Actually, you put this next to what good really looks like. You know, it's kind of like you shut yourself up in the house for 28 years, you didn't leave the house. You know, your version of good is like coming out into the sunshine for the first time, and it's just like, what is this? You know, my muscles have all atrophied, I can't hardly move. What is this bright light? And this old standby, this scripture you've probably heard of, whether you're a Christian or not, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, will finally come to life. Because you may have struggled yourself with the idea that I'm terribly sinful. I mean, maybe you're a pretty good Ten Commandment guy, you know, or girl. You can't pick out a whole lot of things. And there are people out there that can say that and be honest. But if the bar is actually the glory of God Himself, if the bar is we're supposed to be like Him, every single one of us is a sinner. A terrible sinner. Disgusting. I don't hold a candle to that. The glory of God? Oh, He's going to describe some, wild things. Wild things. You know, we used to, hey, if as long as you don't cheat on your spouse, you're a good person. Jesus is going to come along and say, you shouldn't even want to cheat on your spouse. You shouldn't even think about it or entertain that it's an option or a possibility or a dream. You know, He says, if you look at a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery with her heart. What? Like every man in the room just died. Like, what? That's crazy. It's not crazy. That's where the bar's always been. Wow. So you do have a sin problem. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see it. But this might happen too. You might, as a person who's kind of sitting on the edge of Christianity or just kind of looking in, you know, just out of interest. I don't know, you might be watching this morning, just be kind of interested in what are these people about? I don't know. You might actually kind of celebrate a little bit because you're going to go, hey, I knew those church people were pathetic. I knew it. They say they think they're so good. They think they're amazing because they don't do all these things and they do the right things. Blah, 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 blah. Frankly, I'm not impressed. Well, there's a version of good that is impressive. If you know a person who even does a few of the things the way that Jesus is about to describe, that is a memorable person. When you actually get anywhere near the actual goodness of God, it will rock your socks. When you find somebody who is the level or even close to the level that Jesus is talking about, of honest, keeping your word, being faithful, being committed, being reserved to not judge your brother, but to be for him so much that you don't need to win, but you need to be right with him. When you see people who are like that, it's memorable and it's rare. But this is the identity that Jesus is actually calling you to step into and has been calling you to step into your whole life. But as that happens, whether you're a church person, a believer or not believer, whatever you've labeled yourself, something starts to happen, and this is kind of rough. Even if you're excited about this, even if this is news and it's cool, at some point you hit a wall and you go, well, ain't no way. I mean, there just ain't no way. Some of these things, I mean, I could see myself maybe getting a little closer in some of these areas. You know, I could make a few adjustments. That one over there might not even be hard for me. It's not even a temptation. Sure, I can do that. I can hack that. Can you hack it all the time? Every time? Some of these, I look at some of these and I just go, oh no. I don't know. I'm not sure I've ever been like that a day in my life. I'm not even sure. You know, it feels a little bit like, you know, when I was 7, somebody, I don't know why, they gave me a compass. I didn't know what to do with it, but they gave me a compass. It was interesting. Oh, that's something people used to do, give kids compasses, right? So you know how a compass works? Well, if you never had one, I guess people don't give them out anymore, but you know, it's got a little needle, and the needle's free to move, and the needle always points where? North. And so you got the other directions on the thing, and you just turn the thing until the north on your gauge lines up with north, and now you know where north is, and east and south and west. You know, and then they say, oh, good luck, kid. Have a good time. I'm like, well, you know, I think I'm going to go to north. You start walking. Big surprise, kid. You ain't going to make it to north. You ain't going to get there. You ain't going to make it to east or west either. You're going to be walking a long time before you finally arrive at east. You know, you might get to north, but you can't get to north. I mean, when you're 7 years old, you can't even get to Chuck E. Cheese unless somebody gives you a ride, right? You're gonna walk up the Arctic and then get in your boat that you made out of ice and row it, you know, till you get to magnetic. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to fail. You don't have a chance. So it feels kind of like that. Like, what am I even doing? Like, I couldn't even keep the 10 Commandments. Now you're telling me the bar is like way up here? What's the point? And I'm going to give you a little bit of relief today, and I hope that it breathes some hope into your heart. That Jesus is not your uncle giving you a compass for your birthday when you're 7 years old and saying good luck. That's not who he is. Jesus is actually a lot more like Bear Grylls. What, you don't know Bear Grylls? You know Bear Grylls? I love Bear Grylls. He has all these shows. My favorite show, Running Wild with Bear Grylls. See, Bear Grylls was this United Kingdom special ops black ranger guy, right? And so his job in the Rangers, or whatever their version, I can't remember, but some sort of special ops elite force, he was supposed to train, SOS, thank you, he was supposed to train people how to survive if they ended up somewhere where they couldn't survive. And so, you know, after he kind of ran his course in that, he started getting invited to all these TV shows because people thought it would be really cool to see how to survive in a place nobody can survive. And so they drop him off from a helicopter someplace, you know, in the rainforest with, you know, pumas and spiders and snakes and stuff, and he's got nothing, you know, no jackknife, no water, no nothing. And they're like, okay, here you go. What do you do? How do you get somewhere and get help? And, you know, they made this thing. Well, after a while, they came up with this crazy show. And I love this show. My wife thinks it's kind of dumb, but I like it. They find celebrities. And Bear Grylls has some adventure they're going to go on. You know, he's planned, it's going to be like a 2-day trip. We're going to drop you off at this place in Norway. We're going to come in by helicopter and drop you off, and it's going to be a challenge, you know, right? And so we're just going to have a rope, and I've given him a satchel with a miniature hatchet, and we're going to trek all the way, and they'll show you on the map. We're going to trek across here through this bog. We'll have nothing to eat, so that'll be a challenge. And then, you know, we're going to get to this waterfall, and the only way is down. We're going to rappel down the face of this 350-foot waterfall with spray coming at you. It's going to be very dangerous, you know. And then we're going to, you know, we're going to make our own zip line, and we're going to go across, and then we're going to get to the drop zone, and they're going to get picked up, you know, and he's describing this, and the truth of the matter is, these people have zero business doing any of these things. And if they were by themselves, they would die. They are going, I mean, it's a given. They're going to die. You're going to rappel down a waterfall with a rope tied to a bush this big, and no shoes. I mean, what are you going to... And it's amazing. But he takes them out there, and they do it. How do they do it? Why? Because he's there. Because he knows the whole thing. He's got the whole thing set up. Is he going to let them slip and die? None of them do. Well, at least they don't air those episodes if they do. I guess I should check that. But Google, has anyone ever died on Running Wild? You know, I don't think so. But it's crazy. Whenever they describe the whole thing and then the camera pans out and they're looking at this celebrity, you know what the celebrity's doing? They're doing this. They're going, yeah, we're good to go. Because he has picked a course that is designed to challenge them and put them past what they believe that their limits are. He's not going to let them fall to their death, but he's going to push them past their limits. They perceive. And he always asks something like the same thing before they set out. He says this. He says, all right, we're going to deal with this, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, ugh. And then he says this, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And then they say, yes. Yes. And then they go, and they're doing all these crazy things, and they make it through the thing, and they're like, wow, I never thought I could do anything like that before, and man, I couldn't have done this without you. Totally true. And then they get to the last thing, and then they're like, oh, no, not the makeshift zip line across the 1,000-yard canyon that drops 500 feet. That's not for me. You know, is there another way around this, Bear? Excuse me. He's like, nope, this is it. There's no way down, there's no way up, it's just across. And he asks them the same thing again. Do you trust me? You trust me? And they hem and haw. And they sometimes have to take a time out. Okay, all right. I'll go. The only way forward is if they say yes. They don't have to be experts. They don't have to know about all the things. He already knows about all the things. He's the guide. He's got the whole situation under control. But the war is not, can I do it? Is, do I trust you enough to put myself in your hands and go along with you guiding me? Are you the compass? Will I let you be the compass? Do I trust you at that level? Jesus is asking, do you trust me? Look at all the good that is good. I know you. You're telling me you've never scaled a waterfall 300 foot. Yeah, I understand. You've never even gone up a step ladder. I get it. I know. But do you trust me? Do you trust me if I say I can take somebody like you into the kingdom of heaven? Do you trust me? Is my word good or isn't it? Can I be your in? Do you believe that? In spite of everything that you know about yourself, for real, do you believe that my word is good? That's the challenge. That's the challenge to believe. That's what it is to believe. It's to say yes. And in so doing, you become the identity you were always meant to have, right then and there. Because God was never looking for you to be a perfect reflection. He does not have that in mind for you. You are not going to become a perfect reflection of Him in this life. But you can become a child that trusts Him. And that was what He was always looking for. Always. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have eternal life. That whoever gets so righteous to be just like Him, they won't perish. But no, that's not what was written. Whoever believes, that's the test. It's the trust He's looking for. A tenacious trust. Will you give me everything you've got and believe in my grace and mercy for the rest? Will you do that, son? Will you do that, daughter? That is belief. And if you are on the cusp of belief and you're wondering, what does it take? What direction do I go in? I'm telling you, this is it right here. You don't have to listen to the rest of the series all about the Sermon on the Mount. I mean, you can start that path now. If you in your heart honestly say, I want to trust, I believe I can trust this person, Jesus, for eternity. You are on the path, friend. You have started the journey. You are trusting your Father. And that is the thing He wants. So I'm asking you this morning, whether you've been a Jesus person for a long time, or you've never given it a second thought, or you are somewhere in the middle of all that. You've had your ups and downs, your roller coaster of life. Would you consider this fresh? Can I trust Jesus or not? Lord, the heart wants to say yes. That is the relationship I want with you. I want you to take me through this life, and I want to set my compass down. All of them. And I want you to walk me through. If you say you'll go with me, I'll go. If you say you'll go, I will go. If you say you'll be there, I'll go. I refuse to trust in my own righteousness. I cannot. But I can trust in yours. If you are truly righteous, if you are the perfect Son of God Himself, the perfect image of God Himself, come here to tell us the truth about everything. If you say you can take me, then I say yes. And we commit this morning for the first time, some of us, we recommit for many of us to that yes. We want the answer to be yes. Take us where you go. We have faith. We want peace. Take us where you will take us. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. If you've prayed something like that for the first time today, or for the first time in a very long time, We're going to have a prayer team up at the front of the room. The rest of you will be free to go. Look, we do so many other weeks, but this morning, that's a special prayer to pray and to mean. And I'm going to ask you to do something out of your comfort zone, to come to the front. Everybody else is headed on wherever they're going, but you come to the front and you let somebody know up front here today, that meant something. That meant something in me, and it's going to mean something for Christ, and I want this to count. So pray with me. Help me begin this journey. I'll see you soon.